in the last election, there was 85% turnover, participation to the election, which is the highest in all modern democracies, and 97% representation in the parliament, again, which is one of the highest, and our party received 49.5%, which is a very big support from the people. So strategic and political challenge around us is instability. But why we are so having self-confidence? Because in Turkey we have a stable political framework. After the first election, 7th of June, there were certain ambiguities. Now we don't have this type of ambiguities, and we are we declared already a very comprehensive political reform agenda, but at the same time we are working very hard to find solutions for the crisis in our surrounding regions and for all the crises in the global agenda. Meanwhile, I want to mention that Syrian political process, Turkey will support. And today I had a meeting with Ban Ki-moon. We said that Turkey will be supporting any initiative for a political solution in Syria, except the only criteria we want to have is the moderate opposition should be represented by their own will and initiative. And there should not be any representation of terrorist groups around the table, and we hope there will be some solution. Whatever happens, Turkey will be siding with Syrian people. Turkey will be helping Syria as our neighbor, and one day we hope that there will be stability. And fighting against terrorism, against DAEŞ, in Syria and in Iraq is our priority. To fight against terrorism in different forms, DAEŞ and PKK, or the HKPC. We don't see any difference between these terrorist groups. They are killing people, they are killing innocent civilians in Turkey, in Syria, in Iraq, in Paris, in Ankara, in Istanbul, everywhere. So therefore there is a need of a solidarity of all international actors to fight against terrorism. Our presence and in Iraq, in Syria and in Iraq, in the sense of supporting moderate forces, will continue to fight against terrorism. The last but not least important dimension is economic dimension, because many of these crises did emerge because of economic conflicts as well. The global economic crisis and volatility is continuing. And unfortunately, there is a decline in the growth in emerging markets. This is a big challenge. Turkey is an emerging market. And also, still, we are much below than 2% global growth, which was the target of G20. The unemployment is increasing. Volatility of financial markets is threatening economic stability. What we want to achieve in this fragile economic context is to have sustainable economic growth. I am very proud to have 4% economic growth in the third quarter of last year, which was a critical era for Turkey. And Turkey is now one of the fastest growing economies in the world. But this is not enough for us because our population is very dynamic. Therefore, we declared, as the new government, a very assertive reform agenda for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 4 years. In Davos, I had several meetings with international investors, yes, and also in London. I am happy to see that all these investors want to invest in Turkey because they know and they see that Istanbul is rising, Turkey is rising, when the other cities in Afro-Euro-Asia is declining or at least stagnant in economic sense. What we want to achieve through using our geography as an asset, we want to have energy pipelines going to Turkey, through Turkey, like TANAP, like BTC. We want the modern Silk Road from China up to London, Europe, through Turkey, with high-speed trains, with logistical hubs, and trade flow will go through Turkey. Again, we want to have a very well-connected transportation and logistical network, like Turkish Airlines is now one of the biggest, second biggest in Europe, and the biggest in the world in the sense of the number of destinations. 280 destinations of Turkish Airlines is carrying the economic assets and interconnectedness between communities. And in Istanbul, we are building an international financial center to make Istanbul a center of economic, financial, trade, energy activities. Just point, when we look at this situation around Turkey and in global scene, we are very confident that in next 10 years, 20 years, Turkey will be the hub of energy. Turkey will be the corridor of trade. Turkey will be the place of all international organizations, big international investors as the headquarters center. And Istanbul, in that sense, will be one of the main financial, economic, global capital city. In that sense, we are working very hard to make necessary structural sectoral reforms. And our recent relation with EU is very promising with all these aspects, despite of the humanitarian, security, political, strategic and economic challenges. We see in Turkey as the new government the full side of the glass, and we will maximize the assets of our geography, the assets of our human capacity, and we will minimize the risks and threats of this conjuncture, and we will be continuing to work for regional peace and global peace everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Excellency, top of mind of the international community is, of course, the fight against Daesh. And we all know that Turkey is strongly engaged in the fight against terrorism. We have all seen the pictures of the recent terrorist attacks in Istanbul, which shocked your country, but as well the global community. So allow me to ask, what are the additional steps in order to fight against terrorism?
Of course, as I said, terrorism is a global threat, and no one and nowhere is immune of terrorist threats. Now we have threat from DAEŞ, from PKK, and Turkey is fighting against any terrorist organization. We realized this threat in 2013 September. Turkey was the first country declaring DAEŞ as a terrorist organization and the first country attacking DAEŞ inside Syria when they approached to our border in 2013 December. But unfortunately, international community was not quick enough, fast enough to respond to this challenge. And later, after the fall of Mosul, DAEŞ had a depth of control from Iraq to Syria, and it became a big threat, a barbaric terrorist organization. Now, Syrian-Iraqi border is not there anymore, unfortunately, and therefore we have to help the Iraqi government and we have to fight against DAEŞ. As Turkey, what we are doing, we are supporting moderate opposition forces in Syria who are fighting against DAEŞ positions, especially in the last 2 weeks, close to our border. But meanwhile, especially Syrian regime and Russian airplanes are attacking moderate opposition rather than DAEŞ. This is a big challenge. First, there is a need of an international commitment, consensus and coordination